just before this video begins, I want to apologise for being gone for however will be 8 weeks by the time this video gets done. Yeah, just want to really apologise for that. I had some mental health and school struggles, but I think I'm in a better place. And if you'll see this video, then I was well enough to finish it, so I am in a better place. Yeah, I had a different video planned for this upload, but just as like the first video back for me to get in the swing of things, I wanted to do something I was familiar with, and something that I could get out reasonably like quicker. I already have all the footage, so yeah, hope you guys enjoy. Next video will probably actually be good. Also, apologies for sounding even shittier than normal. I got really sick this week, but I'm not gonna go 2.5 months without uploading, so yeah, just deal with it. Neon Genesis Evangelion has one of the most notoriously controversial endings in anime, an ending I see constantly memed and hated on even by fans of Evangelion. In this video, I will explain why I think this ending is absolutely perfect. I mean, you did read the title, right? Neon Genesis Evangelion has many themes, and I think the ones that are most important for understanding the ending 2 episodes are social conformity and understanding who you are. Episode 25 and 26 viewed as characters of the show in a vacuum, where they're forced to see how others see them, and are forced to understand how they see themselves. But to understand that, we have to rewind a bit. Huh? Shinji Ikari is a broken character on the very start of the show. After being abandoned by his father, he becomes completely submissive to orders from others, not wanting much of anything for himself. He rarely ever expresses what he wants apart from when he's interacting with his father, who he understandably hates for abandoning him. Shinji remains timid for most of the show, apart from high energy moments like the angel battles. Despite disliking Asuka's borderline malicious mockery of him, he never really stands up for himself, and even when he does, it's more of an argument that's done for humour. His relationship with Asuka is never anything more than that. Shinji doesn't get treated much better by most of the other Nerf staff. His father orders him around, does nothing more. Rei learns from him and they have the most neutral relationship in the show in my opinion, but just before this finale, Shinji found out Rei is just a homunculus, an artificial human. Misato makes an attempt to reach out, but as we'll get into later, fails and Shinji pulls away, and eventually she's too wrapped up in her own issues to help anyone else with theirs. The only person that treats him nicely is Kaoru, who is someone that Shinji later has to kill, because the only person he could trust was an angel, the enemy.
Because he was an angel! Kaoru was an angel! He was still an angel! He was still one of the enemy!
Shinji is utterly broken at the point we see him in these 2 episodes. He just longs for things to be simpler, for Asuka to mock him again, for Misato not to be wrapped up in grief, for him to not know the truth about Rei. He just wants to return to the normalcy that he used to live in. Several characters of the show reach out to Shinji and show him things. Asuka shows Shinji Unit 2 early on, Ritsuko shows Shinji all of the work Nerve had kept secret, etc, etc. But each of these times is never done to benefit Shinji, but to benefit the people showing him. In the last example with Ritsuko, she only does this so someone could witness her sins and see the whole truth that she had kept secret for years. Maybe she was even hoping to be forgiven by Shinji and Misato. Speaking of Misato, Misato Katsuragi's biggest struggle in the show is connection. She hates her father, but considering he sacrificed his own life to save her, Misato's feelings are now rather mixed, shown through Kaji, someone who in these final episodes of the show is constantly compared to Misato's father, and while Misato might love Kaji without these similarities, the similarities are still there. Misato makes a decision in episode 2 to take Shinji in and be his guardian, putting herself in a parental role to Shinji, although throughout the show Misato fails to be a parent and acts more like an older sibling, or just really an older friend to Shinji, someone who's older and wiser, but she's far from a figure of authority. She doesn't fit into the position that she's in, she actually completely fails to fit into it. She treats Shinji much more like a roommate and views him as such. When she tries to reach out to console him, she does so by reaching out physically rather than emotionally, more like a close friend than a parent or a guardian. Misato never learns to be a good parent to Shinji because while she's put in that position, she never learns or understands how to play that role. By this finale, Misato is sick of seeming like this amazing person. Due to her lack of interaction with a large amount of people in this finale, since Shinji and Asuka have both distanced themselves from her, she spends a lot of time on her own, wrapping herself in the sequence of Nerve, Seili, and Kaoru, trying to finish what Kaji started. The only person Misato really interacts with in this finale is Makoto, someone she is actively manipulating for information, using the fact he has a crush on her to get what she wants. The dynamic between Misato, Asuka, and Rei is a rather interesting one in my opinion. For one, if you want to look at colour theory, Asuka is represented with red and Rei with blue, obviously. However, Misato is a purple, a mix of both the colours, which is a rather telling fact on her place in this finale, and throughout a lot of the show. We only see one side of Asuka and Rei. While we do get some context on their actions, Asuka never stops being the pompous brat and Rei never stops being calm and collected. However, Misato is both in a way. While she isn't as self-absorbed as Asuka or as calm as Rei, Misato is a cool and collected commander at Nerve, analysing situations and coming up with the best answer to a problem while most of the time keeping her cool. While at home, she's a rather carefree, slightly self-absorbed person, which ties back to how she feels as a guardian. We see both sides of the coin with Misato, which could tie to the themes of adulthood in the show. The kids rarely ever leave their rather one-note personalities. Apart from one rather cocky example, Shinji is always nervous and shy, Rei is quiet apart from that one rather self-destructive, impulsive decision, and Asuka is always obnoxious, Toji is brash, etc, etc. However, all of the adults in the show are shown to have more layers. Ritsuko is really bantery outside of work, but in work she is incredibly serious apart from cracking an occasional joke or two. Makiko is hiding a crush but doesn't announce it out being professional. I'm not going to talk about Gendo, but if you've seen the show and seen End of Evangelion, you know exactly why I brought him up. The only key adult in the whole show who doesn't act very differently inside or outside of work is Kaji. Ironic considering he's a triple agent, but that also could explain how he's able to get along with and understand Shinji and Asuka much better. Speaking of Asuka,
I don't want to hear that garbage from you! You're just stupid, Shinji!
How many times do I have to tell you? Kaji's gone!
No.
by the time we reach this finale, Asuka is so utterly broken. There's been an implied suicide, and she's gone into a catatonic state in an episode prior, and she's replaced in days by the next pilot, Kaoru, which probably would have done nothing to help her state regardless. By the end of episode 24, it's established that she utterly despises all the other EVA pilots for being better than her, and has let that hate absorb her to such a point where she hates everything, even herself.
I'm sorry I'm inconveniencing you.
You're not inconvenient.
When I didn't win with my Ava, I lost whatever value I might have had. I hate everything, and I hate myself the most. I don't care about anything anymore. There's no point.
When we finally reach episode 25, we see as each of the big three characters I previously mentioned are forced to understand who they really are. They have all the truths they've been running from, or didn't understand, or refused to believe, shown to them. And this time they cannot run, they have to understand, and they cannot deny it. The episode uses its brilliant direction to show how the characters in the show view themselves, but also each other, showing us reaction shots that show the other's opinions on each other, and while they don't add a great deal substantially to the episode, it makes the episode feel less jarring, but also at the same time more confusing. Misato is forced to cope with the fact that one of the reasons she loved Kaji is because of the similarities between him and her father. She has to understand the ways that she failed Shinji and Asuka, and also has to come to terms with the fact that she's alone because of her own actions and not anyone else's. Asuka has to come to terms with how she never gave people a reason to like her. She's forced to confront her trauma. She finally understands where it comes from, but is forced to confront the fact that she was still a pompous brat and an asshole to people. And while the episode also goes into Shinji, it ends on a cliffhanger for him. The episode mainly stating how this world, a world without people, is the perfect world that Shinji wants to live in, since that's where all of his trauma comes from. People. His dad abandoning him, Asuka's bullying, the ways Misato failed, Rei's coldness. They all give Shinji a belief that the perfect world he would want to live in would be a world without people. Now, episode 26 is almost fully about Shinji. The episode shows the main cast opinions on Shinji, and it also fully deconstructs Shinji's character in an incredibly objective but also harsh way.
You don't care about me anyway, do you?
Using that as an excuse is no different than running away. what you truly fear is failure, isn't it? You fear that you may be hated by others. You fear acknowledging that weakness even to yourself. The only one who can take care of you and understand you is you, yourself.
It puts Shinji's depression and self-hatred on full display and shows the character's opinions on that. Even though Asuka can see why Shinji is the way he is, she still finds it to be pitiful and pathetic.
If you want real happiness, you've got to find it for yourself, not wait for someone to give it to you.
Misato and Rei are the voices of reason, or a voice that at least tries to help Shinji, and any other cast members' voices that appear like Kaji and Ritsuko are usually rather interrogative. Whether this is the actual characters or just a manifestation of them in Shinji's mind, it doesn't really matter, because this episode is all about getting Shinji to realise that he isn't useless, that he is worth something, and that just because you hate yourself doesn't mean that other people hate you too. And then episode 26 of Neon Genesis Evangelion becomes one of the most hopeful finales in all of anime in my opinion. The episode ends with Shinji literally breaking down the rules that kept it down and announcing my life is worth living here. And then you get the congratulations scene, which yes has been a meme for years now, but it's an actual congratulations to Shinji for breaking down the rules that kept him down and literally beating his inner demons. The characters in this episode spend the whole time trying to show him that, trying to prove that, to get him to realise that. They show him a fantasy world where everything is so much more hopeful. They show him a world that he is fully in control of. And that's it really. This might feel like a bit of a fast ending because this section was originally so much longer. It went to the production of the episode, it did a deep dive into what the school scene and the existential scenes where the art style dips. But if you ask me, it's just not necessary. This whole script was a page and a half longer and I realised it was just pointless. Episode 26 of Neon Genesis Evangelion is a perfect ending for the show. It puts his characters through so much pain, puts them through so incredibly human struggles, and Shinji arguably gets it worse than anyone. So watching these episodes, watching Shinji finally break down those barriers and gain some self-worth and confidence and actually win, it's so satisfying and cathartic and just hopeful. I think by the amount of content on this channel about it, I've made it pretty obvious that Evangelion spoke to me personally, and saying that my mental health has been a bit on the wobble recently would be a massive understatement. But a lot of the time I invalidated my issues because I couldn't put them into words until I saw Evangelion, a show that made me realise that this is a real fucking thing. People have these issues, people feel this way, and after watching the show, I realised I should reach out to people. And while I 100% haven't fixed my issues, and I probably haven't reached out enough, if it wasn't for Evangelion, I might have just stopped uploading after my Midnight Gospel video. Because I stopped enjoying everything, and I couldn't explain why. I couldn't explain why I hated everything I made. I couldn't explain that I hated everyone who cared about me because they cared about me. And I couldn't really explain just how much I despised myself. But I was able to semi-understand what I was going through, thanks to Evangelion. So, yeah. Way too personal rant aside, I love this finale so much, and I hope if you stuck through this video, you will at least get why I think it's perfect.
I hate myself. But maybe I could love myself. Maybe my life could have a greater value. That's right. I am no more or less than myself. I am me. I want to be myself. I want to continue existing in this world. My life is worth living here.